Because we knew if we wanted to protect the progress that we'd made in Harris County, we had to re-elect Lina and keep a majority on the County Commissioners Court. So thanks to the voters in Harris County, we were able to hold that majority, and we even gained one seat on the court. Now, I'm working to help elect Sheila as our next mayor of Houston. And I'm doing that because I think it's important that we build on the progress that we've made on all the wonderful things that Commissioners Court has been able to do. And thanks to congressional members like Sheila, there is an unprecedented amount of federal funds flowing through the Inflation Reduction Act. There is an unprecedented amount of funds flowing through the Inflation Reduction Act, thanks to congressional members like Sheila Jackson Lee. That investment can transform communities, help us fight climate change, and create good paying jobs right here in Houston. But local government is the key to that success. So, who better to make that happen than a congresswoman who understands federal agencies, who can maximize those dollars while working with our local leaders in Houston. Of course, Judge Hidalgo understands this, and that's why she's here to tell us more. Judge Hidalgo?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I just saw my colleague, Commissioner Ellis, is here, and he just arrived, and this is Precinct 1, of course, Commissioner. And I've received this wonderful introduction. I want to give you a chance to say a few words briefly, Commissioner. We are braving this heat, so I'll be brief. I know Commissioner will be brief, but please say a few words.
It's a historic day for a great Congresswoman. Judge Hidalgo, I want to thank you in particular and everyone who's coming out. It's an important position, the most powerful mayoral form of government in the country. And Sheila Jackson Lee has delivered for us in Congress. She did it on City Council, and now she's going to do it as the next mayor of Houston. Thank you.
All right, everyone. So thank you for showing up and braving the heat. I know it is scorching hot. There are water bottles. Raise your hand, water bottles. All right, right there. So if folks need more water, right here, there's a cooler. So please, anyone also from the press, they're there, they're cool. Will be so that we can make sure and stay cool in this heat. And we're passing some out. But folks, if there's somebody who can take the heat on behalf of the communities in Houston, Harris County, it is Sheila Jackson Lee.
Yes.
With her, Houston will have the best of both worlds, an experienced leader and a creative thinker. Sheila Jackson Lee, for decades, has worked to bring results from the federal government right here to Houston. Just in the time I've been in office, the American Rescue Plan, $1 billion for Harris County that we've used to reduce homelessness, to reduce crime, to support children in early childhood education, and so much more. The Infrastructure Reduction Act that will work to continue supporting our communities. When the state refused to send $1 billion for Harvey recovery, Sheila Jackson Lee was there, and we got that money over here. We are under attack by the state, and who better to have a line to the federal government to make sure Harris County is not bullied, is not left behind, but instead we continue to get the support we need. A creative thinker. The Congresswoman, the future mayor, can always be counted on to ask the tough questions, whether it's taking on predatory lending, whether it's taking on unscrupulous actors in the banking industry, fighting for flood relief dollars. She has always figured out how we can win the most, not just how we're going to get out the door quickly. All of us know, I'm still in awe of how hard she works and how she manages to do everything and be everywhere with success. She's got the experience, she's got the know-how, she's got the creativity, and she delivers. Now let me talk just a little bit about collaboration. It's easy to underestimate the importance of collaboration in politics. Part of our success over the past 4 years, reducing homelessness by 20%, leading this community through the pandemic and floods and fires and the winter freeze, is the ability for me to work very closely with Mayor Turner, for the city of Houston and Harris County to work arguably closer than they ever have before. We do that because we're able to put our ego aside and focus on what works for the residents of this city and this county. I know that's the kind of relationship I will have with Mayor Sheila Jackson Lee because it's the kind of relationship I've had with her for 4 years. Together, we get things done. I want to say a real quick something about the issue of crime, because I know the same people who attacked me with falsehoods and scare tactics are going to try to do that to her. So let me set the record straight right here. We stand together, committed to tackling crime by adopting policies that actually work. Instead, that's right. We're not repeating what has failed in the 80s and the 90s. The federal funds Sheila Jackson Lee helped bring to our region have allowed us to hire more associate judges and visiting judges, to launch a violence interruption project to stop violence before it happens, to purchase guns and gun buyback programs and get them off the streets, to have a diversion center for at-risk youth, assistance funds for victims of domestic violence, additional pay for detention officers, you name it. By doing all of this, we've been able to reduce crime by 10% and counting. Another reason I support Congresswoman Lee for mayor is she embraces the diversity of our community. She's not one to pit communities against each other. She's not one to throw people under the bus. People still talk about the times she supported their community. They still talk about, after 9/11, how she embraced the Muslim community in Harris County and around the country. Immigrant communities talk about everything she does for them, for us. She's been there always advocating for our rights, for our well-being. You and I, Congresswoman, we couldn't be more different. And yet, the Congresswoman was one of the first elected officials that stood with me in 2018 and embraced our platform for change, and since then she has been a true partner. We need a fighter, and if there's one thing the Congresswoman is she is a fighter. We know in Texas, Harris County is under attack. They've come after our voting rights. They've come after our flood funding. They've come after our ability to raise revenue, our largest school district. We need that fighter, and Sheila Jackson Lee has never been one to shy away from a fight. So together, Congresswoman, future mayor, we will continue to be a line of defense for our 5 million residents. I know that being mayor isn't just a pit stop for you. You are prepared for this. You have prepared for this your entire career, and you are ready to lead our city forward. I stand ready to campaign with you. I am so thrilled to endorse you. I'll be making fundraising calls. I'll be hitting the campaign trail. I will be urging my supporters to support you. So let me just repeat this. I'll shorten it in Spanish, and then I will be proud to introduce our future mayor. Me alegra mucho estar aquí el día de hoy apoyando a Sheila Jackson Lee como alcalde de la ciudad de Houston. Sheila Jackson Lee es una líder con experiencia y creatividad. Es lo mejor que puede ser posible, porque la experiencia la tiene en décadas y décadas del gobierno federal, donde ha traído fondos federales a nuestra comunidad. En los 4 años que he sido juez del condado, $1,000 millones hemos recibido por parte del gobierno federal como parte del programa ARPA, más fondos con un nuevo programa bajo la presidencia del presidente Biden. $1,000 millones que teníamos que recibir para recuperar después de Harvey también nos ayudó a traer aquí al condado. Es creativa, ninguna pelea le asusta, nada la intimida. Ella ataca, bien sea los préstamos depredadores, actores sin escrúpulos en la industria bancaria, el pedir recursos para nuestra comunidad. Ahí está ella, experiencia, conocimiento, creatividad y resultados. La colaboración es importante. El alcalde Turner y yo trabajamos muy de la mano estos últimos años, tras pandemia, incendios, inundaciones, helada. Y lo hemos hecho porque ponemos nuestro ego a un lado y trabajamos juntos. Eso es lo que podemos hacer la congresista y yo, porque lo hemos venido haciendo estos 4 años. El crimen siempre se va a nombrar. La realidad es que seguimos trabajando en eso. El crimen violento ha bajado un 10% con las políticas que sabemos funcionan. Y he trabajado con la congresista en eso, he trabajado con el alcalde en eso. Sé que la van a atacar a ella con falsedades, así como me atacaron a mí. Entonces quiero dejar muy claro que nuestras políticas funcionan y están funcionando. La diversidad, la congresista la apoya siempre. Miren, no podríamos ser más diferentes ella y yo, pero siempre ha apoyado a los inmigrantes, siempre ha apoyado a los latinos y me ha apoyado a mí desde el principio hasta los pequeños, los apoya. Necesitamos una luchadora, la luchadora es ella. Esta no es una parada técnica para la congresista, se ha preparado para este mandato toda su vida. Y me enorgullece apoyarla en esta campaña. Estaré haciendo llamadas para usted, congresista, estaré ayudando su campaña, estaré invitando a mis votantes a que se unan y apoyen a su campaña. Entonces, con eso me enorgullece muchísimo darle la bienvenida a la congresista y formalmente apoyar su candidatura. I am so pleased to have this incredible team here. We have won once against the toughest circumstances. We can do it again. In fact, we will do it again. We will work so hard for you, Congresswoman, because you have been working so hard for the people of Houston and Harris County. It is my pleasure to formally endorse Sheila Jackson Lee for mayor of Houston, and let me introduce our future mayor, Sheila Jackson Lee.
Sheila, 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 Sheila.
I am humbled. Before I make just a few remarks, whoever needs water, let me pause for a moment. Media, anyone, please raise your finger out or something so that we can give you a bottle of water. I'm so honored, first of all, to have Judge Lina Hidalgo's committed support. Muchas gracias. Mi casa es su casa. My house is your house, and we all live together. I want to say that endorsement and support in 2018 has never been a disappointment for me, because I have seen Judge Hidalgo leading the County Commissioner's Court in good times and bad times for the working families of this community. Your every step was to ensure that there was relief and not pain. I'm grateful for that. I want Houstonians to know that my running for mayor has not turned my behavior and actions. For 28 years, I have been the city's congresswoman. I represent the 18th Congressional District, but I've gone to the mat for each and every one of you, to the far west, to the far east, to the far north, and the far south. I've collaborated with my other colleagues, but when there's been something that we could do together that would help West Houston, we can document that I was there. Or East Houston, we can document that I was there, north and south. And so I want to thank, again, both Amber Mostyn for having faith in me, for all of the people standing behind having faith in me, for our commissioners and Commissioner Ellis and other elected officials who are not here today for having faith. But let me just give you an example. I stand here in front of the Mickey Leland Monument. Mickey Leland was Houston's mayor. Everyone knew that they could come to Mickey's office in the 18th Congressional District, in that building before it was restored, that they could get help. A secret is we never asked, we just said, we'll help. As well, Mickey understood that this was an increasingly diverse community. I think he saw it 30, 40 years ago. I've never turned my back on helping educate people that diversity is good. It may be international diversity, it may be language and faith. And now that we see in 2023 that diversity is our richness, it is what's going to put Houston on the map as an international city. It is going to have people saying, Houston pops, I'm coming to Houston. Why do I say that I look at no boundaries? On September 6th, just a few days after Hurricane Harvey, I introduced, with 44 members of Congress, as the Speaker asked me to lead, on a $174 billion legislative initiative to help us dig out of the hole of Hurricane Harvey. That bill was ultimately the framework for the funding coming to airports, hospitals, schools, the county, the city, and all of the nuances. I subsequently introduced legislation that copied Hurricane Sandy and gave to Governor Abbott a funding for small businesses that should have been addressed by grants, of which Sandy did in New York. I was thinking we had to pull it out, and I worked with my Republican colleagues to get it done. The president at that time, which was not the president of my party, signed the bills that we had, visited the disaster areas. And yes, as president, we were there fighting for our constituents. Someone wants to turn collaboration, Captain, to something that should not be. We should have collaboration and coordination. That's what government is all about. I'm very grateful of the colleagues, the administration, or my ability to cross the aisle, having worked under President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, the last president, and President Biden, and had bills signed. What is wrong with that? At the same time, Governor Bush, Governor Perry, and during Hurricane Harvey, the beginning of it, Governor Abbott, Senator Hutchinson, who was our former senator, during Hurricane Ike. You can document that. We stood up and announced a major funding for the entire state. My recollection is about $400 million. People are still suffering from Hurricane Ike. And so what the judge has said is that you don't have a stovepipe and look askance at the county. And I'm grateful that for the first time in our history, the county acknowledges that Houston is in the county, and we as a city, they work with us and we work with them. I work for the county in terms of anything that impacts Houston, and they work for Houston. What is wrong with that? To the citizens of Houston, isn't it good that we get governments to work together for the betterment of your quality of life? In the course of the work that I've done, how many times that I've had meetings with the Harris County Flood District and the Army Corps working on Huntington Bayou. We're right here. It is flooded. We have poured federal funds. Huntington Bayou, White Oaks Bayou, Greens Bayou, Halls Bayou. Those are combination city and county. Sims Bayou, when I first came, and if you ask the people at Sims Bayou, they have not flooded. They finished that work.
That's right. Sure did.
That was federal dollars when I was a baby member of Congress, and I helped finish the funding for that. Our predecessor was Mike Andrews. Mickey Leland, the symbol of working with all people. After 9/11, we were held up in Washington. I watched the plane, the billowing smoke after the plane hit the Pentagon. We couldn't fly. But when we came home, one of the first things we did was to gather the Muslim community and say, not on our watch. This is what I see in Judge Hidalgo and the county, all of the people that are standing here. Let me just give you one or two more points. This week, I went up to Washington. I think the very 24 hours, I was in the White House talking about judicial fairness that impacts all of our community. This morning I was at the State Department emphasizing how Houston is an international city. And the Secretary said, I'm coming to Houston. And I said, I hope you are, so that you can emphasize what we are. And by the way, look at our very hardworking passport office, because I asked for more resources for Houston's passport office while sitting in Washington today. Houston is never far from my mind and my passion and my service. It's not just when I made a prayerful decision to come home to run. I wasn't thinking about running in 2017. I wasn't thinking about running during 9/11. But Houston was our focus. And I always wanted, as a member of Congress, that relationship between Houston and Harris County. Amen. And it's here now. What has happened with the county is that they have helped mothers with babies in child care. We have an eviction epidemic. I counted on the city and county working together to stem some of the tide of the eviction epidemic. People who mean well, but are out in the street. We saw national news. I was in Washington, they were showing Houston with people with baby strollers. We can find ways to do better. The child tax credit I used to help register parents to get into child tax credit. We were cross-pollinating. And we fed or gave 60,000 people at Dushan Park on those vouchers during, I believe it was Hurricane Harvey at that time. It was the county that gave me the space. We had the different, if you will, leadership. But we fought for the space with Commissioner Ellis and the Republican Texas Department of Agriculture. I can't work with them. Came down enthusiastically, I'm going to say that, and sat there and gave 60,000 people those vouchers so they could eat. There you go. But it was calling, I'll say it, the Trump Department of Agriculture to say we need those vouchers here in Houston, and they sent them to us. I didn't hesitate. So in between the State Department, Department of Justice, I met steel workers who said I walked their picket line. I met someone with biodiesel who said, come to my manufacturing. Let me show you how we do it. I met climate people, because I don't turn anyone away, because if you're going to lead and be a CEO, you must listen and you must understand the facts of your community. I will both work with and listen to and collaborate with our elected officials, state, local, and federal. The good news is the door to the federal government that has been our lifeline will not be closed to me. We will have the opportunity either for them to fix the problem or for us to work through the problem. Yes. I do want to close on this. When I do what we call community projects, money to the police department for victims, money to a school, over $1 million for climate change and educating our children about science. $3 million to economic development, which included both Northwest and the East Side, with our friends at Mecca and the Centers for Arts over on navigation. We find a way to be constructive. And in immigration reform that some people look at and want to say something, I've introduced comprehensive immigration reform, and I've worked with people like the late Senator John McCain. Sadly, our vision was not able to pass. So I want to counter anyone's thought that a 5 to 6 year member of the budget committee cannot manage the budget. I want to make a little PS and say I have written letters to the Federal Reserve to not raise interest rates so that consumers would be able to get out, both in terms of purchase and large products like homes. You just noticed they didn't raise the interest rates. It might have taken me a little while, but they're trying to see how the economy is going to go, and inflation numbers are going down. But what I've said. I also want to dispel any myths that anybody here is going to do what somebody else says. Judge Hidalgo is going to do what is best for her constituents, along with the Commissioner's Court. I'm going to do what is best for the city of Houston. But how foolish it is that we don't find ways to walk together for Houston and Harris County that has mutual concerns and problems. And then finally, test me on working with Republicans. Test me. As we say, the distinguished gentleman, friends on the other side of the aisle, I couldn't get bills passed without working with my friends who are Republicans. I don't mention their name. They're not endorsing. I haven't asked. Don't think I won't. But there are a number of bills, including Juneteenth, where friends that were Republicans helped me pass. Or the bill that had $174 billion and the small business provisions, Republicans and Sheila. Some of the criminal justice bills, Republicans and Sheila, because I chaired the crime subcommittee. Don't label us. Be open to what we will say and what I will say. And I will come to your neighborhood. And I will listen to civic clubs and super neighborhoods. And we'll find the common ground in housing, bringing down crime and public safety, justice, which is so important, making sure our children are safe in their schools and are learning, and making sure that people who are coming out of incarceration are not shunned, but the door is open for reentry programs. We will find ways to give them another pathway. Again, I think I've made myself clear. I am honored and humbled to get an endorsement by the county judge that has such a wide spread, and the Commissioner's Court, for the first time in history, collectively, not individually, because we are near the late L. Franco Lee's park, and he was a mentor and admired him, and he fought for the city. But now the Commissioner's Court, all of them, view the city as a partner. Why? Because you have a county judge that sees no boundaries for good. And I want to join her in representing this great city as a CEO and seeing no neighborhood boundaries for good. Seeing every neighborhood, every philosophy, every family, every child as due the dignity of this great city, and every gender and every race, every color, every creed, and every religion deserves the dignity of being a citizen or a resident of the city of Houston and having a mayor that says, you are important to me. I care, trust me, and watch me do your work. Thank you all so very much.
Sheila, 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 Sheila.
Any questions? Yeah.
Is this with media?
I've been waiting on treatment for 5 years, over 5 years, to get my house in Hollywood. No action. all you gotta do, I live in this neighborhood. All you have to do is go around to North Judge and see what's going on. They sit down there in the office and they say this is this, but it's not so. Come out here and see what's going on. Okay? I've been here for 66 years. I was born and raised here. Nothing has changed. Nothing. I'm gonna go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, thank
Now,
you.
let me just say, yeah.
All right, sir.
Yeah, we know the blue tarp, sir. It is layered government. It's layered. So let me just say to you, I hear you on that, and we don't have to give up, even though you've been here 66 years and it hasn't been good in these last couple months. Don't give up. Just listen. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I'll ask my staff to circle back.
Both of us will. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions from the press?
All right. Thank you all so much. All right. Woo! Sheila.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that
Happy
information.
yourself.
What you did for us.
Oh, I love it.
Well, he didn't see you doing it.
Yeah, he shaved it.
That's it. You do something.
I know, I'm so excited. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, here's one that's gonna
Thank you. Where's James at? James. Were you getting any pictures on your phone?
Commissioner Junior picture. Yeah.